Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, everyone. It's a large crowd here today. And welcome to the October 14th, 2021 Cumberland County Commissioners Workshop meeting. If you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance by saying, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I called this meeting to order at 9 a.m. and at this time I open up the floor to public comments. Hearing none and seeing none, we'll move on then to agenda item number 3, which is the presentation of the GFOA Distinguished Budget Presentation Award and Special Performance Measure Recognition to our Finance Department. And I'll call on Commissioner Eichelberger.
Okay, very good. Well, it's always a pleasure to be able to look at some of the things that we do really, really well in the county government. And certainly this is one area where we've established quite a track record now, thanks to our finance folks. I think this is the 14th consecutive year that we're getting this recognition from the Government Finance Officers Association. And it's essentially for excellence in budgeting practice and adherence to best practices. So we're going to, do we have something to hand over, or are we just kind of doing a?
Yeah,
there's usually a
pin.
pin or pin thing. Okay. I'm assuming we're going to present this to you folks. So rather than hand you a plain brown envelope, I think we'll
Here we go.
Maybe, oh, excellent. Oh, great. Okay. How do we want to do this? We're going to bring everybody up. I mean, you all have a role in this. So, our finance folks, why don't you please come up? And,
do we want them back here? Do we want them up here? Where do we want them?
I think. Everybody?
Yeah. We get the round now.
The official name of this is the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award, and Cumberland County, as I mentioned, is getting this for the 14th year. So what I'm going to do is, Dana is our Chief Finance Officer. I'm going to ask you to speak a little bit to exactly what this is, because you all have the fine details.
It's a very long process, and it requires every department to play along. We have over 50 departments, and they do a strategy for their departments and their goals and their performance measures on top of the numbers. Then we pull together the numbers starting in actually February of the year before, because we run 2 fiscal years. We run a July to June, and then we also run a calendar year. And so we have budgeting going on in different aspects. I won't bore you with the details, but we're implementing a new database, and this team here is working very diligently and hard to get us into the future with our technology, and I'm just very proud of all that they do, and all of the departments really play a big role, and this award really goes to everybody.
We couldn't do it without the excellent team that Dana has assembled here, so we particularly want to thank you and the entire team for what you do on this. This is not a small thing, and I just want to point out that this is more than just doing the right practice. What really matters is the result that we get from this. And I think it would be hard to argue with the great success we've had in essentially managing and running a very effective and very efficient county government here. We've got, as we saw in the presentation you folks presented yesterday, very low tax rate in the region, lowest in the property tax for our residents. But we haven't sacrificed things to do that. As fastest growing county, we're continuing to keep up with the needs of the county, and our government's not starved. We're efficient, but we're effective too, and that's only able to do that with the fine guidance that these people and the tools they have given the commissioners, again, with the assistance of the entire county government. So we greatly appreciate that. We're very proud of this, and I'm going to just mention one other thing that I think is worthwhile. This is the second year the county has received make sure I'm getting this right, the Special Performance Measure Recognition. We've put a bit of emphasis over past years on the idea of measurement of performance as a way of managing performance. That really comes down to getting the most bang for the buck. and ensuring that we can keep tax rates down by getting a lot of results for the money that we have before we go back to the public and ask for more money. So efficiency, effectiveness go hand in hand, and we're really proud of the tools that the finance folks have given us to manage that across the full range of county government. So just wanted to mention that performance measure recognition. With that, I have two forms here. I'm just going to give these to Dana, and if you want to share one with somebody or hold those up. We're going to do a couple of photos, and before we do that, I forgot here. We've got the GFOA. It provides us these nice. We've got for 20 and 21. Is that because we didn't get 20s last year with COVID, or?
We did get it, but we didn't.
We didn't hang. Okay, so we've got these buttons that show the year. The award is over here. The second one from the left here, distinguished by the presentation. As you can see, a number of years are on there. We don't have all 14. We're running out of room, so we're either going to have to get another plaque or stop doing such a good job, and I think I know which one I would prefer. So we're going to have these posted on there. I don't know if you want to do that today, or is that too difficult?
We want to fix them.
You want to fix this? Okay, so we're going to hold off on that. But we have those, and we're going to make sure that they get up on there so our folks get the full recognition. But I'm going to go ahead and give these to you guys as well for now. And they don't necessarily show up real well in a picture, but we do want to get a picture here to mark the occasion. So I'm going to squeeze in right about here.
And we have a crown on this one now.
What's the crown represent?
The crown represents that the controller's office gets the CAFR, the PAFR, and we do the budget. So it is really a teamwork across offices.
There you go.
And so we might have to give this crown up to them if they don't get their own crown.
All right. Jerry, thank you for taking this up.
Is this what it's?
Yeah,
All right.
that's good.
Very good.
Perfect. All right. Take a couple. All right, thank you.
Very good, thank you. Round of applause for our folks.
Thank you.
Okay. That's always exciting. We get to recognize the really hard work of our finance department and really any staff of the county. So thank you. And we'll move on then to agenda item number 4, which is contracts and grants. I'll turn it over to Tammy Hershey.
Thank you, Stacy. Agenda item number 4 is contracts and grants. Agenda item number 4, numeral 1, consists of existing contracts, contract extensions, or addenda with no additional cost or increase to the county for aging and community services. Commissioners, do you have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding this particular agreement? No. Hearing none, we will move on to agenda item number 4, numeral 2, which consists of new contracts, vendors, services, grants, and contracts with increases or decreases to the county. I'll begin by calling on Darby Kuslov to discuss the contract for adult probation.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, adult probation is seeking your approval to enter into a contract with Remote Comm. And Remote Comm monitors the devices of our sexual offenders, or electronic devices of our sexual offenders. And any inappropriate activity would be reported to the probation officer. And then if there were any violations of probation and parole, that would be forwarded to the court. There is no cost to the county. This is all between the cost associated with Remote Comm is passed off to the defendant.
Okay. Questions? George?
Pretty clear.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I'll call on Kim Bender to discuss the aging and community services contract. And I believe Kim is on. Kim?
Hi, good
Kim?
morning. Good morning. This is for Franklin County Aging. It is pass-through funding, and it's for the Aging and Disability Resource Center.
Commissioners, any questions for Kim? Okay, thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Next, I'll call on Jamie Ryber to discuss the contracts for children and youth. Jamie?
There's, I have 5 items today. The first one is the impact project contract. They are adding 5 new levels of foster care for the 21-22 fiscal year. And they are increasing one level of foster care 10.64% and decreasing a level of foster care 6.45%, and are removing an additional level of foster care from their programs this year. The next one I have is Bethany Christian Services of Central Pennsylvania. They are also a foster care provider. They are not requesting any increases this year, but they have added 4 additional foster care levels for medically needy children to their contract. And part of their per diem for the medically needy children is funded by Medicaid. The next one I have is Diversified Treatment Alternative Centers. They are requesting a 32.25% increase to their RTF locations in Lewisburg and Danville, bringing them from $211.72 a day to $280 a day. Their max allowable that the state has granted them is $396, so they're well below their maximum allowable, and part of their placement cost is funded by Medicaid as well. The next one is the Bear Foundation. This is an addendum to our current contract with them. We are adding a program called PATH Permanency Services. This is a specific program that was requested for a family, a child that is waiting to be adopted, and there's been some issues that they want to get a program in there to try and salvage the placement. So we are putting that in there for this particular family. And the last one is just a letter of agreement with MHID Behavioral Health. They provide psychiatric services, comprehensive services, and continuity of care for the people that are served by MHID and both children and children and youth.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Jamie?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Jamie.
Yep.
Next, I will call on Ben Boyer to discuss the contract for CNRC. And I'd like to note that the second one listed, Allied Resources Medical Staffing, is an action requested item. Ben?
Good morning, Commissioners. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Department of Health and Human Services Provider Relief Funding Phase 4 application that we'd like to submit. As many as you're probably already aware, so there was 3 phases of the provider relief funds, of which we've received money before. Before there was no application process. That was money that was just given out during the COVID pandemic, obviously. With this phase 4 one, there's an application process that needs to take place. The phase 4 one, just a little background, the Department of Human Health and Services is making $25.5 billion in new provider relief funding available. As I said, there is now an application process. As far as how they're going to calculate how these provider relief funds are then given out, 75% of the funding is going to be allocated to providers based on the reported changes in revenue and expenses from the period July 2020 to March 31st of 2021. And then the other 25% is allocated to bonus payments, and that's going to be based on the provider levels in Medicaid. Is there any, and this is amount, sorry, if we have to go through the application process, we do not know how much we get. Is there any questions specific to that?
So on the grant questionnaire, I'm just confirming that the funds have to be used by December 31st of 2022.
Correct.
Okay.
And
you said 25.5 million, correct?
Sorry, 25.5 billion is what they've made available for everyone in total.
Thanks.
Any other questions with that one?
Yeah, Ben, do you have any idea when we may know the amount that we're requesting?
the amount that will be, so we don't actually request an amount, you just,
Okay.
you submit
all right.
this stuff and you submit, in the application. And I'm not sure, I finished it up yesterday and emailed it out, but I'm not sure if you guys got a copy in front of you or not. But when they base the calculations, they're gonna base it, we had to put in the operating revenues from patient care by quarter. And they compare like 2019 compared to how much it went down in the period from July 1st, 2020 to March 31st of 2021. And that's how they'll calculate then how much we will actually receive.
Okay, thank you, that helps.
So Ben, just before you move on to the next item, is it correct to say that this application puts us in the group of people who will be allocated funds?
I would imagine so. I mean, I can't guarantee that for sure, but certainly I have filled out the application already. Obviously, I have not submitted anything.
Okay.
And we have definitely, our quarterly revenue from 19 to the end to 2021 has went down significantly.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions with that one before I do the next one?
I have none.
All right, hearing none.
Okay. The second one is a healthcare staffing agency that we already have a contract with. They sent this addendum out, I believe, October 6th. It is increasing the rates. This is a staffing agency we use quite regularly for RN specifically. So that is where I allocated most of the money in that process. Now, as I said, the rates have increased, certainly, from what we've seen, how the market conditions and that, and especially the last couple of staffing agency contracts we have entered into, these prices are about what is happening now, unfortunately. Is there any specific questions with this one?
This is one of the ones we've had existing. This is not one of the new ones. This is one we've had existing.
Yeah, correct. This is not a new one. This is one we've been contracted with for numerous years. It's just an addendum to their pricing.
We get RNs from the other agencies as well.
We do. We get RNs from different agencies. This is just one that, like I said, that is actually just looking back, that is mostly what they provide us regularly.
So with this rate increase, they're still competitive with the others?
Correct. I mean, we have, so I believe we have 18 total now staffing agency contracts, and there are some we haven't used in quite a while that haven't updated their rates. So they would certainly bring the average down. But I would say I checked the last 3 new staffing agency contracts we've entered into, and the rates are very similar to what they are increasing to now.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
Okay, this is the one we need action on today. So, okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve an addendum to the contract with Allied Resources Medical Staffing to run from October 17th, 2021 to October 16th, 2022 as presented.
I second that motion.
It's moved and seconded. Any further questions? If not, we'll call the question. Is all in favor indicate by saying aye?
Aye.
You're not opposed. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Ben. Next, I will call on Jennifer Gibney to discuss the domestic relations contract. Jennifer?
Good morning. Value Payment System is a credit card vendor that is utilized by the clients of domestic relations to pay their child support. Essentially, the cost goes directly to the client for that transaction fee, which was 2.95%. We negotiated and they were able to reduce that transaction fee to 2.5%. So it's less cost to the client to make the child support payment. There's no cost to the county. It's directly a cost that's associated between the client and the vendor.
Okay.
Have further questions?
No.
All right, thank you, Jennifer.
Great, thank you. Have a good day.
I'll now call on Annie Strike to discuss the MHID contract. Annie?
Good morning, all. I have a combination of addendums from prior fiscal year and then new contracts for this current fiscal year. I'll start with prior year addendums, the first being for Keystone Service Systems. They provide adult residential services under the umbrella of the Mental Health Office. And we're requesting an addendum of $26,095. It's to pay some over contract expenses. They had some septic issues at one of our residential programs, and so we're going to make them whole, basically. At least that's our request. And the second is to pay some over contract to the Perry County Prison. And just as a reminder, we pay for half a position at both actually Cumberland County and the Perry County Jail. So that's what that amendment is for. And the total was $486 on that. Do you have any questions for me for the addendums? Okay.
No.
Then I'm going to move on to current fiscal year contracts. The first being with the Cumberland County Housing and Redevelopment Authority. For many years, the state has asked us to have a housing support specialist under the umbrella of the Mental Health Office. And actually, for probably close to a decade, we've are mindful that the housing expertise is in the redevelopment authority. So for many years, we've had an arrangement where we pay for part of a position at the redevelopment authority. So this current fiscal year, we're requesting to contract for $110,717. That actually reflects a little decrease from prior fiscal year of $3,696. And our goal is to provide excellent housing opportunities for people with mental illness and intellectual and developmental disabilities. That's the purpose of the funds. And then the next two are actually memorandums of understandings with the redevelopment authority. And that's because they apply for some grants, and we provide information and as well as shared expectations. And really those MOUs have no dollars associated with it, but they are outlining our mutual goals and expectations of each other. Do you have any questions related to the MOUs?
No.
Okay. And the last two contracts are actually for the ID side of our office. The first being with Kencrest Services for fiscal year 21, and it's reflective of an increase of $15,387. And they provide residential services and community participation support for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And then the final contract is with Keon Enterprises, and they provide transportation services. And there is an increase of that contract of $37,998. And that's for additional authorized services for transportation. The total of that contract is $53,747. Are there any other questions?
No questions for you, Annie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I will call on Stephanie Williams to discuss planning contracts. Stephanie?
Hey, good morning. The grant before you today, it is a subcontract to Silver Spring Township for a land partnerships grant that was awarded in 2019 to do some restoration work and prepare a boat launch at the DeFilippo Nature Preserve. This addendum is simply to extend the grant agreement through December 2022. They encountered some timing issues with COVID and permitting with DEP.
Do you have any questions for Stephanie, commissioners? No. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
I will now call on Claudia Gardner to discuss public safety contracts. Claudia?
Good morning. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. What we have before you today is a no-cost agreement, letter of engagement for Pima 911 and their next generation 911 vendor, Comtech, to coordinate the implementation and transition to the statewide NG 911 call handling. This basically just allows them to talk to our phone vendors and coordinate that switch to the new service. It also outlines in great detail the expectations for all parties in terms of the equipment, space design requirements and connections and things like that. So it's just a letter of engagement at this point. Any questions on that?
No.
Hearing none. Thank you, Claudia. That concludes our contracts and grants. So I'd like to turn the meeting back over to Stacy.
Okay, thank you. And I'm actually going to call on Claudia to discuss the donations to sponsor the 2021 Cumberland County LEPC Sarah Summit. Claudia?
All right, so we are asking for the Board of Commissioners to receive a sponsorship donation in the amount of $1,000 from MCM Consulting Group Incorporated as a gold sponsorship level of the LEPC Sarah Summit that's going to be held next week. As you know, the summit is for area businesses, first responders, and elected officials who will be able to network with their partners while learning how to better be prepared for an emergency. The second donation is actually not for the Sarah Summit specifically. We're requesting your acknowledgement and approval to receive a donation in the amount of $500 from Zimmerman's Automotive Tire Pros and Mechanicsburg. We were contacted by Jackie Hauer, who's the Director of Operations there. They would like to give that $500 donation to our department as a result of their September 11th memorial event. Jackie shared that they are a family of former and active first responders, so being able to help in this way means a lot to them. There's no parameters on the donation and ask that we simply use it as we best see fit. Any questions on those?
All right, thank you, Claudia.
Sure.
And we'll move on to agenda item number 6. Claudia, where I will call on you again to discuss the recommendation of the Department of Public Safety as well as the Radio Advisory Board regarding a vendor for the new P25 radio system. And commissioners, please note this is an action requested item. Claudia?
Sure, thank you. All right, so as we discussed at the finance meeting on Wednesday, October 6th, and on the recommendation of the P25 Radio Project Advisory Board, Public Safety is requesting the Board of Commissioners approval this morning to move forward with Motorola as the vendor selection for the new P25 radio system for Cumberland County. This will allow coordination with the vendor to develop the system, the engineering, and establish the terms for a purchase order contract via the co-stars. This also enables additional partnership opportunities with the South Central Inter-County Communications Network, which is comprised of Dauphin, Adams, and Franklin counties. This recommendation, as you know, is a direct result of the countless hours and collaboration among our public safety partners that make up the Radio Advisory Board, which is our staff and the consultant entrusted to assist us with this capital project. We want to make sure that we make educated decisions along the way and maximize our return on investment while meeting the objectives that we all approved on at the start of this project. So as not to delay this project progression, we are asking for your action requested today in the approval of moving forward with Motorola as the vendor selection for the new P25 radio system for Cumberland County.
Any questions before?
No.
Section?
Entertain a motion then.
I will move to approve the Department of Public Safety Radio Advisory Board recommendation of Motorola as the vendor for the new P25 radio system for Cumberland County.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Last opportunity for any questions. Not hearing any, we'll call the vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
There are none opposed. The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
We'll move on then.
Appreciate your support.
Thanks, Claudia. We'll move on then to agenda item number 7, and this is a reappointment recommendation by the Capital Resource Conservation and Development Area Council Incorporated. They actually have 2 recommendations to bring forward today, and they've been gracious enough to provide me with some comments. So the first is Elizabeth Grant, who is a member of our very own planning department. She has served a 3-year term, or a term that is nearing at the end of its first 3 years, and she is actually very excited to serve a second term, and they are wholeheartedly recommending her. As somebody who has spent a little bit of time with Elizabeth recently, conservation is a passion of hers, and we are very fortunate, I think, to have her serving in this capacity. So that is the first recommendation. The second is Ken Oakhorn, who is an alternate board member. The alternates are are appointed on a yearly basis, and Ken is interested, or at least is willing to serve another 1-year term as an alternate if needed. Any questions, commissioners? We'll move on then to agenda item number 8, which is discussion of a motion to authorize the Friends of Claremont to purchase a locator system for Claremont in the amount of, there's actually 2 parts to this. The first is $9,750 for software and a server, and the second is $16,650 for hardware and networking. As you may recall, the bylaws for the Friends of Claremont allow them a great deal of latitude to make decisions about purchases unless the equipment that they're purchasing is designated as such. If it is equipment, if it is furniture, or if it is beds, to ensure that what is being purchased sort of falls in line with the mission of Claremont itself. And so this system is actually a wireless system. It's by Acuity. So it's an emergency call system that has 2 components to it. The first is the server and software. So that is essentially a computer that provides monitoring for the second half of the system, which is, again, all of the hardware that goes with that. So that comes with a wireless system that would be installed throughout the grounds of Claremont, which would allow residents the ability to move safely and securely around the property. And there are necklaces or watch bands that provide, it's a fob, and they can press that if they need assistance. And the way that it works is it will tell the person monitoring the computer exactly where that individual is located to then provide assistance. Do you have any questions about the system?
Will this be used while the residents are in the building?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I
When you
understand.
said they can move around the property, I had made an assumption that this was only for outdoor use.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean,
not-
out of the property, like outside of the building.
Okay.
Thank you for
Okay,
clarifying.
Stacy, if I'm reading this right, the total cost is $26,400, but the Friends of Claremont are providing $20,000.
We actually didn't remove that page. We were in conversations with the Friends for a while, and we really were moving this in 2 different directions. One was as a capital project if necessary, and the other was to move it forward. When it was first presented, it was presented as one product, but it really is technically 2 separate products. And so that would allow the Friends to purchase the entire system, which would be, again, those 2 separate components. So combined, yes, that is the total cost of both components of the system.
But the Friends are paying for the full amount.
They're paying for the full amount, so long as you approve the concept of the system. Any other questions? Okay. All right, so then we'll move on to agenda item number 9, which is discussion of capital projects. And I'll call on Eric Radnovich to discuss the purchase for FID. Eric?
Thank you, Stacy. Good morning, Commissioners. The capital project before you for $167,421.08 represents the purchase of an instrument, gas chromatograph mass spectrometer. This is to fulfill the contract with the Department of Corrections. So long-term, it'll be repaid through the 5-year contract with the DOC, so it will not have any effect on the general fund.
Any questions for Eric?
Eric, it's Jean. I thought we had already approved.
You didn't approve the capital purchase. You approved the contract, but this is the capital purchase to buy the instrument.
Okay. All right. So I'm correct. This is not the first time we've seen this. And if I'm remembering correctly, this is a system that comes with all kinds of equipment with it.
This is the first time you've seen this, so it's a new application.
Yeah, Eric, if I might interject here, didn't we also have a capital project last year for this same type of equipment? I think that might, right. So we have one piece of equipment that is for our use, and now this is a second piece because of the increased volume based on our contract with Department of Corrections. Would that be a correct statement?
That's correct. Thank you. That is correct.
So this is an additional piece of equipment?
Yes.
On top of what we bought last year?
Right.
So we
It's
bought the
because-
identical piece of equipment last year?
Yes.
Okay. And we're saying we have to buy the second piece to fulfill the contract that we have?
That's correct.
The revenue contract, yes, with Department of Corrections.
And when did we approve the revenue contract with the Department of Corrections?
Two months ago, I think.
Spring, yeah, spring,
Okay.
summer, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Eric? Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Stacy.
I'll call on Justin Miller next to discuss the project for recycling and waste. Justin?
Thank you, Stacy. Commissioners, back in early 2020, you approved the submission of a recycling grant application to the state for funds to purchase a new piece of recycling equipment. We received notice in early 2021 that we were selected for an award, and you entered into an official grant agreement to complete the scope of work and seek the funds that we had applied for. This program supports our municipal partners that have leaf waste recycling sites, which they're mandated to have by population. Some of those those members sit on a committee we have, and they give advice for purchasing equipment. We demoed a machine actually earlier this year, and the group is recommending we move forward with purchasing this particular machine. These large pieces of equipment are not cheap. The cost for this machine is $403,048.80, and that is with a 10% CoStarz discount. The grant will reimburse us up to $350,000. That leaves a difference of $53,048.50 that we have to make up. About 5 years ago, we started having our partners pay money into a equipment replacement fund to buy new equipment. The fund for the screener is sitting at $61,234.16. So we have enough money in that fund or that pot to cover the difference that we need to make up. Any questions?
Any questions for Justin?
Judge, we saw good participation in that essentially that fundraising plan.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, it's remained consistent, Gary.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions for Justin? All right, thank you very much, Justin.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the last capital project request is for IMTO, and I'll call on Mark Adams to discuss the project for the department.
Morning, Commissioners. I'm in person. I have 3 capital projects for you today. The first one on the list is Cisco equipment, and that's pretty normal. We replace our switches annually. We have 140, 150 switches throughout the county, so we always budget some money to replace some of those on the schedule, and we're for $50,000 to purchase our 6 switches. I can just go through them and you can ask questions again. The second one is the storage area network. We have one in place today. It's at the end of life. The storage area network consists of a bulk of storage at our computer location, the server room here, and then a replicated copy at a different location, so that we take the data for redundancy and copy the data, disaster recovery purposes and things like that. It's really the bulk of our data that's used for the whole county. All of your F drive storage and things like that is stored on these devices, and then we replicate that data. So with network, then we need some switches along with the hardware for the data, and then we can replicate that data across the network, keep a secure copy of that data elsewhere. The cost of that solution is $275,000. Also at end of life, the other one for about 7 or 8 years, and can no longer get support on it. The last one is a server replacement. replacement project. These are also end-of-life servers. The total cost for that is $130,000. We do a lot of virtual servers, so the physical hardware we buy are pretty massive, but one physical server can host 15 to 20 virtual servers, and so that's our compute power. The compute power that then feeds and retrieves the data from the storage network, then that's your in your office. Disaster recovery, sustainability, reliability, structure.
Any questions for Mark?
Just out of curiosity, is there a particular brand that you favor as reliable?
We stick with Dell for 95% of our equipment. The last storage area network we had, we purchased one called Nimble. It was kind of I think it's a pretty awesome product. When we bought it, we were told that we could just replace the parts and then we wouldn't have to go in full replace. Nimble was bought out by HP, and so their model is rip replace. So we could go back to HP, but we're probably going to go with the Dell solution. We're going to use some quotes and things now. But Dell's been pretty good for us for servers and laptops and desktops.
Any other questions for Mark? No. All right, thanks, Mark. All right, we'll move on then to agenda item number 10, which is Commissioner's Liaison Reports, and I'll start by calling on Commissioner Eichelberger.
Okay, just briefly, we had, of course, recycling. We dealt with the Justin's update there, the equipment. The recycling authority meeting is next week. So I'll probably have a little something after that. They're going to be getting an update on the revisions to the waste management plan that has to be reviewed every 10 years. So that process is continuing. The bulk of my other liaison involvement continues to be at CADIC. We've got a lot of irons in the fire right now. We've got, of course, the training facility issue has reached kind of a inflection point, and a lot of decisions are going to have to be made. And of course, we've lost our training individual at CADIC, so we're trying to make sure everything stays tracking well there. Similarly, the workforce plan now being fully fleshed out by consultant Steve Riccio, who also works with us on the Leadership Cumberland from Deering Group. And we're also looking at increasing our ties with South Central PA Works on that so we can build a partnership, and we want to have that in at the ground floor. So continue to have a bunch of contacts there and make sure we've got the right people involved, make sure the workforce plan really gets built out correctly. Other thing would be significant investments right now in board and committee development. I think I reported last time that we had reached out to Alliance members, and we have a nice pool of individuals for a specific committee right now. And we're looking at replicating that recruitment model, and maybe even some of those individuals who've applied can be applied to other committees. We're putting a lot of responsibility on the committees to help do some of the projects, and also looking to actively cultivate the committees as a source for future board appointees. We, of course, have board vacancies coming up end of the year. Confident we're going to have some good appointees, but we're sort of developing those processes now for recruitment and the vetting of those individuals to make sure we continue to have everybody be strong and stronger board going forward. So we're putting some processes in place there. The Policy and Planning Committee continues its evolution, and it's actually being used right now as kind of a test bed for a number of those things. And that's where we did the recruiting, and we're going to test some processes out there. And I think that's going pretty well, but I have a lot of involvement on that right now. Simultaneously, of course, you're aware that there are two key positions that are being recruited for within the staff at CADIC, and we want to do something similar there in terms of the vetting process there and kind of professionalizing that process over and above what we've had. So a number of things happening there all simultaneously. Hopefully we'll be putting a few of those to bed in the very near future. And some of them will continue as we go along, as we develop the workforce development initiative, of course, so you'll be hearing more about that in the future. That's everything I have.
Commissioner Fauci.
Good morning, everyone. This past week, I attended the Agriculture Land Preservation Board yesterday as an alternate for Vince. And the meeting started at 7:30 a.m. and I left at 9 to be here at 9:30. And boy, lots of my 7:30 a.m. meetings that happens with. Like, I don't get to see the meeting to the end because I have to be here for something else at 9 or 9:30. That may be something we want to take a look at as we make the calendar for next year, because we did not even get through the first really interesting agenda item at the Ag Land Preservation Board, and I had to leave. So I also went to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board meeting earlier this week as Vince's replacement, and learned many interesting things, one of them being that the Housing Trust Fund Board has a fund to help people with emergency repairs to their home, including your roof, a couple of other things, but they have just added sidewalk repair, which I think is critical to the people of Cumberland County. I know we have some boroughs and townships where sidewalks are in disrepair. So there is that fund available to help people that need to fix the sidewalk that really and truly can't afford to do it. So I thought that was very interesting and was glad to hear that they had added sidewalks to that fund. I will remind you to use the library. This last week, I stopped in at Bosler, and on the second floor, they have a very extensive Cumberland County Law Library. And I thought that was really great, and I spent some time there reading the newspapers and borrowed a book. And finally, the Western Council of Governments met. And I don't know how many of us are aware of this. I was very surprised to hear this and pretty disappointed to hear it. Our municipalities on the western part of the county are having a very hard time getting mail delivered to them, and the mail that they send out is just not making it into the world. It's not being circulated into the world, and that is a serious concern. They talked about how hard it is to pay bills, to make sure that they're paid on time. They talked about how difficult it will be in terms of tax collection and just the normal course of business, how hard it is for people on that side of the county to do business because the mail is just not working for them. So that was a huge concern, and we talked a little bit. Kirk Stoner happened to be there, and we know what a nice letter he writes for many things, and we talked about maybe Kirk putting a letter together that we could send out to our federal delegation. But other than that, I'm not sure what any of us are supposed to do to help them. You know, there was one township that said, well, our mail delivery person is on vacation, so, you know, we were told we won't get mail for 5 days. There's no one to replace them, so it is a serious issue. And that is the end. Thank you,
Commissioner. Commissioner DiFilippo.
Gee, maybe we should bring back the Pony Express.
I wonder.
You know? Or the milkman. Yeah, the Agent Advisory Board will meet tomorrow afternoon, and I will be in attendance. I want to thank Commissioner Fauci for covering for me my liaisonship duties for the Ag Advisory Board and the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board this week while I enjoyed an unplanned vacation at the West Shore Hospital. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. I would like to report that there was an executive session held on October 13, 2021 at 9:30 a.m., and it was regarding personnel. Is there any other business to come before the board today? Hearing none and seeing none, we're adjourned.